Hello, gentlemen. Today we're going to be talking about something that I see a lot of you messing up, especially good men. Not the toxic ones, because for some reason the toxic ones naturally know this theory or what I'm going to be talking about in a very narcissistic way. They take it way overboard, let's call it. And so they get the woman, but then they also lose her. And she's been scarred. She thinks men are horrible, horrible people. And I see it all of the time. And I hear it all of the time from a lot of my girlfriends that's been burned by really toxic men. That men ain't shit, okay? I'm sorry. However, though, there's some takeaways and some logic that we can learn from these dudes with toxic alpha traits. There's a midway point that I feel like you guys need to learn from that can build you into a gentleman, into a good person and a good human being that is solid in your own authenticity, and it builds a lot of mystery. But what I don't want you guys to do is mess up again or give away all of your time, energy, and attention before a woman has actually earned it. And please, guys, it's coming from a woman that has been burned, and I'm a therapist that has worked through a lot of issues with our male clients that I'm like, oh, I see it in her, actually. And so now it's really not about playing games either. I don't want this video to be about me telling you to start playing games. It has to come authentically to you, and I'm going to give you some perspective on why it's important. It's about understanding overall evolutionary psychology, human psychology, how modern times has actually really sped up way too fast for your brain and your instincts to react properly and functionally, and also learning how real attraction works, especially when it comes to modern relationships. Because I hear a lot of good men giving up way too soon, and I'm not talking about sex, okay? You don't come off as generous when you're giving everything to her way too soon. You pay for the dinners, you pick her up, you set all the dates, you text her first, you chase, right? You're this nice guy. You come off as you're very unsure about yourself and you're unsure about your value. So today I'm going to break it down specifically and how to actually stop handing over your power and your respect before it's even earned, and how to actually build respect around a woman that you may want to actually attract. And you also want her to see who you are as a person, not the overly investing, overly generous, overly giving type of person. And what the science, I'm all about science because I'm a nerd, what science says about masculine leadership, we hate that word, but it's true in modern relationships specifically. So before I start talking more, hello, I'm Christy. I'm a therapist and a relationship coach. But gentlemen, if you're new here, welcome. Obviously, I use a little bit of my own subjective experiences to give you a side of female psychology that you may be craving, but also I like to lead it towards what that means for the holistic view of our society and the changes of this world, because beautiful relationships is a beautiful, beautiful life and a beautiful humanity, and I want more of that. And that means closing the gap between men and women. And I never want to point fingers. All I want is to help men really understand what is required for you to stay authentic, but also get what you need, right? Which is a loving, honest, genuine relationship with a woman of your dreams. And if you have that, how to ensure that you are keeping up with it, ensure that it is balanced, if you will. So if you're new here, please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button and that like button. Welcome to our mental health practice. I'm a therapist by trade, and we have therapists that study this all the time, specifically so that we can work with men. And so if you're new here and you like videos like this, hit that subscribe button and that like button. We're trying to send out as many videos out to people out there as possible, and it helps the algorithm, of course, because we're stuck with the algorithm. And comment down below, what brought you here? What kind of relationship struggles are you going through? And have you tried therapy? Why do you hate therapy? Do you like therapy? Because I like a good therapist. Not all, I have my own, but I like a good therapist because it's very, very, very challenging. It's very, very, very productive, and it keeps me from postponing the bad behaviors that I know I'm going to make or potentially making. All right, so let's begin. How do we ensure that we're not giving it away? Gentlemen, please, right away. Why is it important? Why challenge is important to build attraction, okay? Let's use an evolutionary psychology perspective and let's go back to the basics. Because in evolution, we're wired to survive and to select a partner that obviously is going to be productive in spreading our gene. I mean, we only live 100 years and we have to ensure somehow that we are expanding our species. And men have always earned their status and strength and legacy through challenge. They fought for resources and built alliances to protect territory. And here's how it works. That's how respect and desire specifically were formed, through earned position in the hierarchy. I mean, I'm sure that's how your brain has always worked. In modern society, it's like climbing up the corporate ladder or buying that Lamborghini or getting an extra zero in your net worth. It's always, even though toxic through that, it could be toxic through that hedonistic climbing, but it has always been the masculine instinct to climb and to achieve status and to achieve strength and to achieve legacy. And so I agree with that. But what does that mean though in dating? Now, fast forward to modern dating. And what are most men doing? A lot of men are handing over attention and commitment and gifts a little bit too easily, and they are over investing or investing in what they believe as a high value woman or what she believes wants. And it's like a short circuit attraction loop. And from an evolutionary standpoint, women are drawn to men who demonstrate selectivity, that they have a discernment for who they select and who gets access to their resources. And they lead with a sense of purpose, not only in their own life, but their dating strategy. They have a sense of control through their impulses. And specifically speaking, you're not just someone who says yes to every moving woman or body that comes in front of you. That is not high value. That's kind of desperate. And so if you're doing that, and you don't have to be a really, really top 5%, 10% type man to attract a woman, that is definitely not how the world has worked and been working. Everybody has their own type of people that they can attract. However, if your behaviors are desperate and attached to validation and you're giving too easily, it says that you don't have a masculine leadership and you don't have a sense of discernment, no matter how many zeros you have in your net worth. So that's a little bit of evolution for you. Number 2. And a little bit of behavioral psychology and what it means for reward and punishment, you could say, or what I call reinforcements and desire. And in behavioral psychology, the way rewards are given determines how they're valued. And it sounds really toxic. And again, I don't want this to be all about games, but it's a sense of reflection as to what you are doing and what you're not doing, gentlemen. Ever heard of the variable reinforcement? It's the most addictive pattern out there. And I want you to use this theory or strategy with a grain of salt. Use it for the good and use it for self-reflection, because it can get very toxic and manipulative if you are a perpetrator. So don't do it, okay? But with knowledge comes power, and I want you to use this to understand how you work and the choices you're making or not making, okay? And especially if you are stuck in the cycle of really toxic women who take everything, okay? Variable reinforcements is the theory of why people actually get hooked onto slot machines or inconsistent texters or people who ebbs and flows or bipolar even. They're very, very happy and then everything is your fault, and then they're very, very happy and then everything is your fault, right? Never knowing what's actually going to come next. You don't know the type of person who's going to wake up, your partner, your wife, tomorrow. You don't know who she's going to be. And this is called variable reinforcement. It's a strategy that is very much used in all psychologies, in e-commerce, in obviously romantic relationships, but it also comes very, very naturally to people who are not as interested or doesn't actually respect you. It's just natural. But then if you find that you are addicted to this, or you have an attachment to this, and that you find things kind of boring when it's not unpredictable, please reflect. Because when a man is constantly available. You're constantly reinforcing and thinking about her, always responding instantly, always giving, always being okay when she is not responding or in alignment with your pace or your effort or your energy, and it becomes extremely predictable that you're just going to tolerate a lot. It becomes boring. Predictable most of the times becomes boring. Over tolerance becomes boring. And what you want to create, gentlemen, and again, please take what I'm going to say with a grain of salt, because I don't want to create some toxic groups of men out there. You want to create earned attention, not entitled access. And you want her investing emotionally, mentally, physically to you. If she doesn't have to work for your attention, she won't respect it. This isn't about being distant at all. This isn't about, okay, I'm going to respond in 5 hours, blah, 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 blah. Your brain has to naturally, how do I explain this? Your brain has to naturally not value her as much given the context of your relationship or what has happened. Let me repeat that again. Your brain, your emotions, your cognition has to be in alignment so your behaviors can respond properly to either early stages of dating, if you're in the dating stages, the context of the relationship, that you don't know each other that well, and so there's no point of you over investing. Or if you're in a relationship and you're in a marriage, it has to be in alignment with what has happened, that you're not going to act like nothing has happened just because you're a tough guy, okay? And she has to earn back a sense of trust, space, closeness towards you by talking about it and resolving things. Again, it's not about distance or games. It's about being intentional and authentic with you, yourself, and what has happened. So don't reward the lack of effort. Don't reward the lack of unresolved issues. Don't hand over the throne for free. Gentlemen, it's all about you. And if this is happening in your life and you feel like this is hitting a core and you want to speak to one of us and how to actually put this into a step-by-step routine in your everyday life and mental health, you can feel free to book a call with one of our therapists. The link is in our description. Now, let's talk about social psychology, and for you to understand why giving it away too fast is just way too stupid. I don't want to call you stupid, but it is kind of me being blunt to you, so that you can not repeat this, okay? Social psychology teaches us that perceived status is relative, and it's heavily shaped by how you present yourself, guys. A man who's grounded in his values and not afraid to walk away when communication is lacking, respect is lacking, or he has the ability to actually communicate and behave and show status without ever actually bragging about it, whether you have a 0 or not, doesn't matter. It's very attractive. It's very high status. It's it signals protector, provider vibes. Every single time you cave to her mood or you prioritize her validation over your own purpose, you tell the world this, gentlemen. You tell the world specifically this, and her, that you are weak. I just said that. You are very weak. And I'm not saying you don't give in here and there in relationships. I give in all the time. I'm a softie. I'm like a golden retriever. But it doesn't mean you have to give in to the very important, crucially moralistic parts of your own identity, your value, your belief systems. And so you have to ensure that you cannot cave in to her mood all of the time. If she is attacking a deep core of your own values as a man, do not cave in. The man with the highest value isn't the loudest or the flashiest all the time. You can be, but it doesn't always mean that you have to be that way. He's the one who has options. He chooses to give attention to women that he values as a friend, as a mother, a potential mother, and doesn't flinch or come away from that. And so it's really important that you understand that, because you've probably heard, as a woman, I'm going to tell you this, I've heard this multiple times and I've experienced it. Men who are walking red flags are usually the loudest and the flashiest, and they're going to bring you to some Michelin star restaurant, and they're going to try to wine and dine you or fly you halfway across the world on a vacation, because most people will do that in order to hide something. I said it as well. And so if you're overly investing and you're overly texting, good women will find that very, very, very suspicious. So at the end of the day, just be yourself. At the end of the day, just be yourself. And the toxic ones are going to fall for it. And you're going to be there wondering why. If you end up falling for a woman like that, it could be all fun and games in the beginning, right? Like you don't mind doing that. You don't mind, if it's a good time. But sometimes I hear you gentlemen fall for women that you do that for. What men don't invest in women that they don't have a sense of need for validation, right? You want her validation, so you're going to do that. Sometimes you can easily detach from the emotional connection, but sometimes you might find yourself falling for a woman like that, and then you're wondering why she's acting all toxic. So ask yourself, are you communicating, I hope I'm enough for you, or are you communicating, this is who I am, take it or leave it? You don't need to know how I'm gonna benefit your life yet until we've both earned each other's respect. Just because I'm a therapist doesn't mean I'm going to sit with a guy friend or a potential romantic partner that I'm gonna start digging into your whole life. It needs to be earned. And there are certain just because I tell you to be vulnerable doesn't mean I'm vulnerable right off the bat, right? And so men, just because you have money or you have career achievements and you have a sense of you've achieved status doesn't mean you have to give it away very, very quickly, right? Focus on high value behaviors because it's beautiful. So what are some key takeaways that I want you guys to reflect on, do some work on? And if you want to speak with us, you can speak with us. But here's what I want to bring for you, and it's coming from a woman. Having a overly investing, giving away too early mindset can either signal love bombing or a lack of value in yourself. And this mindset only works specifically when you're completely traumatized. And if you want to achieve a sense of authenticity within yourself and you don't have to sit with the mistakes or the misalignment of who you want to be versus who you're acting and showing up as a man in your own life at the end of the night, you have to work towards being authentic and discovering who you really are. I'm going to be honest. If you're pretending to be hard to get, but deep down you're anxious and insecure, women feel that. So let's start with this. Okay, I just want to give you a couple of tips because I always like to be strategic and start small. Number one, heal your need to be liked. If you're constantly overgiving and you're constantly trying to earn approval, of course it could show up as love bombing, okay? And you might not even know you're love bombing, and then one day you realize you don't actually like the chick. It's just not love, and it's fear. And so don't do it to yourself and don't do it to her, of course. Number two, learn to sit with discomfort, being misunderstood, being rejected, being told that, hey, we're not compatible. Hey, I don't feel a spark. Hey, I really, really like you, and I really think you are the man that I have come across in my entire hopes and dreams. I'm putting it very, 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 very extreme, right? But if it's overly positive or overly negative, have a sense of discernment. And how do you reflect on it? You want to include some data points. So sit with the discomfort is what I say. And do not let being chosen as the reason behind your decisions and your sense of self and your value as a man. Number three, this one's the obvious one, but for some reason I've had a client who literally had multiple sessions just trying to fix this one reason. Stop trying to fix or rescue everyone and everything. It is a very egotistical driven way of moving through life. It's a lack of ability to actually know what you can control and what you should not. Yes, you can probably help someone and help her, but that doesn't mean you have to. So letting her struggle sometimes and letting her work through her own emotions and not fixing things right away, or even letting her miss you, not prioritizing her for all hours of life is a good thing. You're allowed to do that. It's attractive, and you should do that, right? Because you need to fill up your own bucket too. So stop trying to fix and rescue everything. Not everything is your responsibility. Know your mission. This one's a very important one as well. This is number 4. Know your mission. If you don't have one, you're going to allow other people, other women, your wife, your children revolve around your entire value as a man. So have your own mission and 30-40% of your brain and capacity be filled with that. Be a man of mission. Don't lose that. Don't have other people revolve around that. It's important to have relationships. I'm a therapist that's encouraging you to love. However, it shouldn't be the only thing. everything, because then it gets very, very toxic. You become very toxic as well. You start blaming her for everything. So know your mission. Now, let's get to the concrete tips specifically when it comes to early stages of dating, or even if you're in a relationship for a long time, or even marriage. I'm going to be quite honest. Number 1, don't text her instantly. Okay, a man with a lot of things to do and priorities, take your time to respond. But if you want to respond instantly because you feel like you have some time to respond, right? Like you are eating lunch and you don't have much things to do, you can answer. But if you feel like you have more important things to do that you need your solid attention and focus on, it's okay to just leave it aside. Number 2, let her invest in you. Don't just give her everything before she has given anything to you. And that goes with emotionally, conversationally, with dates. You don't have to mirror her effect. That's not something that I like to do because it becomes reactive, but just know that it's supposed to be genuine. She needs to be mature enough to show you some of her interests, and you as well, and also effort. Number 3, ask questions that reveal values. And this goes with early stages of dating, in a relationship, or even marriage. Why? Because values sometimes change. People change. And so early stages of dating, just because she's shown you that she is like this, or she wants this, and she is this, doesn't always mean she won't change. And so constantly asking questions and checking in is extremely important. Not just what is your type or what are you looking for? Those are very surface level questions, but what do you believe builds a strong partnership? And what have you learned from what has just happened about yourself as a woman? You can ask that. Or even ask yourself, okay, what did I just learn from her about myself as a man? Because values and people change. Usually values change before people change. So ask questions. Number 4, keep your life full. And what that means is, if you always try your very best to uphold a high standard for yourself, it is a good baseline to go on when things are tough. For instance, physical activity, going to the gym, ensuring that you are always forward focused and growth oriented when it comes to your career or business. Brotherhood specifically as well. Are you putting in effort to connect with the guy friends or the men around your life and growing from that, and also checking in on them as well? That's very, very important. And so keep your life full, not just with her, because it shows very strong masculine identity. And have a good personal standard and structure for how you choose to behave and who you choose to invest in. These come before you start chasing. These come and these should be fulfilled before you start chasing. And if it hasn't already, I would challenge that before I think about why you keep overgiving or why women take advantage of you. That's what I would attack. I would probably kind of challenge or attack, you could say, as a therapist with our clients. And we've seen it all the time. Number 5, reward effort and not just beauty. Praise her when she shows you a sense of depth or intelligence or opinions, kindness, consistency, not just the looks. I mean, that goes pretty concretely, right? Don't just say she's hot, she's beautiful. Wow, right? I mean, it shows you what you are. What you validate is what you put forward as priority in your life. And so if you don't know how to praise a woman, or you're not looking for a woman who is anything but beautiful, I mean, that's an issue, but I don't think you guys are like that. And so learn how to reinforce different variables and traits in her, and also ensure that you're getting and receiving that sense of validation and reward for things, not just protective provider vibes, right? That, oh, I appreciate your vulnerability. Oh, I feel closer to you because you told me this. Like, I remember I had a moment with my brother where he told me he wasn't having a very good moment in his life, call it. That I was like, wow, like, thank you for sharing this to me. Like, I didn't know. And we definitely felt a lot more connected. And so remember, it doesn't always mean it's weakness, okay? So praise her and just know that you want it too, and look for it as well. So all these tips and tricks, remember, it's not about playing a game. It's about putting yourself first and having a discernment of the type of people that you surround yourself with, and also a discernment for how you think, feel, and behave as a man. Truly important because you are your own worst critic. You judge yourself every minute, every second, every hour of the day. You know when you procrastinate. You know when you are over investing. You know when you shouldn't have taken her to that Michelin star dinner. You know it. Just nobody else knows it. You do. And so you will be your own worst critic. So stay true to yourself overall. So what are the key takeaways? Number 1, evolution rewards challenge, not passivity. And if you're over giving, over investing, it's passive. It's very, very passive. It shows that you're unsure about yourself. So evolution rewards a good challenge. Not overly toxic, but a good challenge. Behavioral science also shows that what is earned is respected. Women and men, both of you. Socially, the man with the strongest boundaries is seen as the highest status. The man with the strongest standards are seen as the highest status. And again, this doesn't mean your net worth or what car you drive or how many assets or whatever you guys like talking about you have. Standards and values and belief systems and a discernment for how you choose to behave as a man is high status. And in women as well. And personally, this all starts with knowing who you are, obviously, what triggers traumas, what your personality type is, how you're built, why you stand for the things you do. And if you're kind of lost in your journey as a man, figuring that out first. And so I hope this video gave you a reason as to why you shouldn't be giving up too soon in a masculine standpoint. If you ever felt like you were walked all over in dating and relationships, take this as your wake-up call. You don't need to be cold or manipulative. You need to just become centered and solid overall and aware and self-aware of who you are and start reflecting on that if you haven't already. You can click in the link down in the description for a call with us and we can break it down. It's very important work. It has changed my life. I did it 5 years ago and I continue doing it every single day with myself and also with my therapist every month. And so please take this video as a crucial reflection, okay? If you feel like you're being walked all over and women are using you, okay? It's very important. So I hope you like videos like this. If you do and you made it to the end, welcome. Hope you learned something. Comment down below what you learned. And I love you guys all. Until next time, bye. Hi everyone, if you enjoyed our content, don't forget to follow us on TikTok and IG where we post daily and YouTube where we post weekly.